Hello guys, welcome back to our anime explainer. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Tales of Herding God Part 200 based on novel. So let's start. On the sacrificial altars, the stone statues were reviving at a steady speed. Formation markings swirled in Qin Mu's pupils, and he focused his gaze with some suspicion. The god statues all had special characteristics. One was a god with a tortoise's shell, another with a leopard's tail, one with a bird's head while another with a dragon's, and numerous others. There were 24 sacrificial altars and 24 different god forms. However, Qin Mu felt like he'd seen some of these gods somewhere. The stone statues in great ruins, he finally recalled. The stone statues that he felt were familiar had come from great ruins. This meant that all of them were probably from there. The stone statues were about to become gods, and it meant that all of the stone statues in great ruins had the possibility to revive. They could return to being living gods, which affirmed his earlier guess. 24 stone statues entered Supreme Emperor Heaven, so it would have an extra 24 gods to assist them. They were probably friends of Saint Woodcutter, and their abilities should all be extraordinary. Yet Saint Woodcutter said that they couldn't defend against the devils, and could only delay for a period of time. What exactly was the origin of the devil race? How did they have such terrifying abilities? When he voiced out his questions, Saint Woodcutter looked at the stone statues and was silent for a moment. The origin of the devils is very mysterious, and even I am not clear on it. However, some rumors say that they come from Yudu, are its life forms. It's said that they separated themselves, but I don't know if that's the case or not. The devils have many worlds and their abilities were always powerful, so it's only natural that Supreme Emperor Heaven can't defend against them. Qin Mu's heart stirred slightly. In that case, what's the relationship between the devils and the so-called true celestial heavens that destroyed founding emperor era? Zhehuali is from that place and his master Luo Wushuang is even the head of celestial heaven's spirit elite guards. He had sent his disciple to train among the devils, so it's clear that there's some relationship between the two powers. They are related, but not as boss and subordinate. Saint Woodcutter knew quite a lot regarding this, but he didn't explain in detail. Their relationship is more of two people using each other. The so-called celestial heavens frequently use the devils to do some stuff that isn't convenient for them, and to survive, the devils are also happy to be used. My primordial spirit has been roaming the universe for many years in search celestial heaven's origin, but I didn't find anything too useful. He stepped on the air and walked to the sacrificial altars. Since you are already in Supreme Emperor Heaven, stay here for some training. I need to do some other stuff. Qin Mu was about to give chase, but he saw Saint Woodcutter leaving farther and farther away. The space his feet covered looked normal yet was really great, making it impossible for him to catch up. Sacred teacher, I still have things I want to ask. However, Saint Woodcutter had already left into the distance, and Qin Mu's cultivation wasn't high enough for his voice travel that far. Little tiger, stay with him. Saint Woodcutter's voice came from the distance. Don't let him create trouble everywhere. The black tiger god immediately acknowledged and went up to Qin Mu's back. Its large shadow covered the youth. Qin Mu smiled and said, Sacred teacher is a poor judge of character. I'm the sacred cult master and not a child, so why would I create trouble? The black tiger god looked down at him with a black face. Aren't you self-aware in regards to creating trouble everywhere you go? Qin Mu raised his head. The black tiger god was simply too tall, so it was quite tiring to talk to him. Senior brother tiger, can you shrink yourself? Senior brother. The black tiger god's expression instantly changed into one of pleasantness. His two ears went upright, making him look pretty majestic. He said with a smile, seeing how you call me senior brother, I won't look down on you from high above. You could also see that I'm not just a mount, but a disciple of my Lord, so in terms of seniority, you should indeed call me senior brother. His body gradually shrank, and after a moment, his height became similar to that of Qin Mu, and he looked like a youth with a tiger's head. It was just that his 2 ears were still extremely nimble, and would twitch from time to time. Senior Brother Tiger, Sacred Teacher said to not create any trouble, and this is creating an incident. Creating trouble and creating incident has a huge difference and can't be put together, Qin Mu said seriously. The Black Tiger God wasn't taken in by him and shook his head. My Lord told me to watch you. I won't let you out of my sight. Qin Mu's head ached, but he could only let him follow him while thinking. I had planned to have Sacred Teacher help me design the world bridge to connect eternal peace and Supreme Emperor Heaven, but he has things to attend to. So it looks like I can only finish it myself. Lee City had grown busy, but he didn't recognize anyone, so he could only settle down in the city tower. He took out stacks of papers and tools of calculation to begin calculating and designing the world bridge. The Black Tiger God stood behind him and looked for a long time. When his curiosity got the better of him, he finally asked, "What are you calculating?" Qin Mu didn't even raise his head. "I'm calculating the equation for the exchange of spirit energy, and one for the shifting of it. I want the exchange ratio of spirit energy for the divine arts practitioners in the different worlds, as well as the ratio of mutual shift between the 2 worlds." What he said was slightly profound, yet the Black Tiger God understood it. He said with a smile, "The equation for the exchange of spirit energy is the method of blood sacrifice, and the equation for the mutual shift of spirit energy is the method of the teleportation divine art, right?" Qin Mu raised his head and looked at him in disbelief. The 2 equations required an extremely large amount of calculations, and involved an extreme amount of learning, which included the exchange of the soul, corporeal body, and energy. This also included space teleportation, and calculating the shifting. If these were presented to a divine arts practitioner of Supreme Emperor Heaven, they would have blanked out after hearing all that. However, the Black Tiger God managed to find and say the crux of the matter in just a sentence. That's right, he is the Mount of Sacred Teacher, and his great educational Heavenly Devil scriptures have profound methods of calculation. He must have learned quite a bit by listening to them frequently. Qin Mu then probed, "How's Brother Tiger's attainments in calculation?" The Black Tiger God picked up a paper from the ground and said, "I just noticed a mistake in your calculation. Here it is wrong." Qin Mu looked at the paper and hurriedly used his tools of calculation to calculate again. There was indeed a mistake. The youth was impressed. Brother Tiger's calculation is profound and even faster and more accurate than mine. This stupid brother is impressed. These 2 equations are somewhat hard, and there are too many things that need to be solved. Can Brother Tiger help me? The Black Tiger God smiled at him. As long as you don't create trouble, what's the trouble in helping you? What's the reason for your calculations? What are you going to construct with the equations? Qin Mu told him about the world bridge he planned to construct, and took out the sacrificial altar and teleportation flag that he had designed. "I used this method to replace a devil general and came to Supreme Emperor Heaven. However, now I want to construct a world bridge to connect eternal peace and Supreme Emperor Heaven. The bridge needs to be very stable for a person to travel back and forth between the 2 worlds." The Black Tiger God muttered to himself for a moment before saying, "That would be Space Spirit Energy Mutual Shift Bridge. It can be designed as a funnel. After it is opened up, the spirit energy of the 2 worlds will be constantly in flow. If people of Supreme Emperor Heaven want to go to eternal peace will have to lose a portion of energy. It'd be the same vice versa. You have quite the idea, junior brother." He patted Qin Mu's shoulder heavily, and the youth's expression changed drastically. He quietly reattached his dislocated shoulder, and was completely won over by the Black Tiger God. An idea flashed through the Black Tiger God's mind, and he clapped his palms. I have an idea. There's no need to design the sacrificial altar since my lord has a huge one that's ready for use. There's also a similar sacrificial altar in Great Ruins, which was a retreat route that my lord had left for himself. If Supreme Emperor Heaven is invaded, he could use it to go back. The two sacrificial altars are both used to summon true gods, so they can be used to connect the world bridge. There's no need to worry about the energy being congested and the bridge collapsing. The only problem would be to calculate the two equations. Qin Mu was excited. Not only did the Black Tiger God run fast, but his attainments in calculation were also unexpectedly profound. Qin Mu couldn't even compare to him. With his help, the Space Spirit Energy Mutual Shift Bridge that stretched across the two worlds could be constructed even sooner, and connect Supreme Emperor Heaven with eternal peace. Suddenly, he thought of the dragon Qilin and felt an unexplainable pain in his heart. They are both mounts yet. Brother Tiger can run faster, and his realm is higher too. On top of that, he's not picky about his food and his calculation is even more profound than mine. He soon abandoned the sourness in his heart though, and put all his energy into calculating everything with the Black Tiger God. The other's calculation speed was indeed astonishing. Qin Mu had to use THG plate, 8 trigrams plate, and other calculation spirit weapons to construct a huge tool of calculation to be able to follow him. In the end, he just gave him his calculation spirit weapons and let him calculate, while he provided him with his thoughts. The tools of calculation that you have prepared are too few, so I'll make a couple more. Once the Black Tiger God said that, he quickly refined a bunch of calculation spirit weapons and multitasked, controlling 6 large-scale tools of calculation. Fatty Dragon doesn't know how to forge spirit weapons either. Qin Mu felt sourness in his heart once more. He voiced his thoughts about the equations, and the Black Tiger God immediately said the answers. His speed was extremely fast. The human and the tiger didn't sleep nor rest, calculating non-stop in the tower of Li City's East Gate. After 8 days, the tower was piled up with thick stacks of writings. Suddenly, Sang Hua's voice could be heard. Brother who threshes the grains, what are you guys doing here? Qin Mu raised his head from the piles of paper, his eyes were bloodshot. He saw Sang Hua, Yu He, Shu Yao, and a few young divine arts practitioners have come over. They were all looking around curiously. Everyone was shocked. The manuscripts had piled up higher than a person, and they were all placed into neat rows. In the center of all the paper, Qin Mu and a tiger-headed youth had heavy eye bags below their bloodshot gazes. Qin Mu's beard had long turned into a messy stubble, but he didn't care about his appearance one bit. So it's you guys. Qin Mu looked away, and continued to write on the paper. Guys, wait a moment. Brother Tiger and I have already finished with the 2 equations, and have used them to calculate the space spirit energy exchange runes. We're currently designing the infrastructure of the world bridge. Yu He, Shu Yao, and the rest of the divine arts practitioners looked at him in a daze. After a moment, Shu Yao asked guiltily, Junior Sister Sang Hua, have you understood anything he said? The girl shook her head with a blank expression. Qin Mu and the Black Tiger God changed their vital qi into incomparably exquisite scales and drew for quite a while on the paper. After they finished marking all of the scales, they finally got up. Go, let's construct this world bridge and test if it can connect the 2 worlds, the Black Tiger God said with excitement. Qin Mu hesitated for a moment. Sacred teacher told me not to create any trouble. This world bridge is yet to be tested. If we create it now, I'm afraid. The Black Tiger God was even more excited than him and patted his own chest while saying with heroism reaching the clouds, this isn't creating trouble, at most creating an incident. No worries, I'll take responsibility for any problems. Qin Mu was still slightly uneasy and planned to recalculate everything to check if he had made any mistakes. It wasn't because he didn't trust the Black Tiger God, but because connecting the two worlds and building a spirit energy mutual shift bridge had never been done before. If something went wrong, he didn't know what would happen. For example, every new kind of spirit pill that Qin Mu had refined to cure injuries had the possibility of strange side effects. He could salvage it when it was a medicinal problem, but how could he salvage if the spirit energy mutual shift bridge that connected two worlds went haywire? The Black Tiger God collected the blueprints rapidly and rushed outside excitedly, quickly. I can't wait to test it out. Qin Mu could only follow him out if the city tower. On his way, he asked Sang Hua, Sister Hua, is something the matter? Li City has already been reconstructed, but the surroundings still have plenty of devil activity. The devils use the flesh, blood, and soul of the people of our Supreme Emperor Heaven to cultivate and pose a huge danger, the girl answered. We've spent quite some time searching for you to go training together. We want to get rid of those roaming divine arts practitioners of the devil race. When Fu Riluo was in Li City, he had restrained the devils to not harm any of the people, but now that he's gone, the remaining devils cannot hold themselves back anymore. To them, we humans are food and materials for cultivation and treasure refinement, he said. That's why during these few days, the villages in the surroundings were trampled. Junior sister Sang Hua had wanted to go God Suppression Pagoda, but she has no choice but to push that back. Qin Mu frowned and asked, Fu Riluo restrained the devils from harming people. Why did he give such an order? To win the people's hearts, Shu Yao said with a grim face. The city can be invaded, the empire can fall, gods can also die in battle, yet the hearts of the people are the hardest to win. Fu Riluo is a devil god with great ambition, so his way of conquering was not that simple too. If he didn't hurt the people, they wouldn't fight back, and even if he squeezed them a little more, turning them into slaves for mining ores and growing all kinds of medicinal ingredients, they would still remain docile. Like this, he could make those lowly devils put their hearts into the battle. Such an enemy that can strike at the heart is the strongest enemy. Qin Mu nodded, and his impression of Fu Riluo changed drastically. Fu Riluo wasn't a boorish man that only knew how to invade cities and seize lands. He understood the method of governing and knew what he had to do to reap the biggest benefit for the devil race. Lowly devils have low status, and Qin Mu had already seen the fate of the lowly devils in the battlefield. They were expendables in the battle. If he turned them into slaves before forcing them to become expendables, it would be hard for him to rule. To avoid that, Fu Riluo made humans into slaves so lowly devils would be waited upon comfortably. They would then go to battle with their lives on the line without a care, and he could sustain his rule. And because the humans could still live, they didn't fight back even though they had become slaves. Like that, Fu Riluo's backlines were stable. With humans providing a constant supply of resources, he could put all his efforts into the battle on the front lines. Fu Riluo is a great talent. No wonder sacred teacher is so wary of him. Qin Mu pondered it for a moment before saying, there should be a lot of devil spirit weapons collected from the battlefield, right? How are you guys going to deal with them? Because they contain devil nature and chi, they are destroyed so the devils won't have a chance to reclaim them, he said. Qin Mu smiled at her. Brother Tiger, and I will be setting up the spirit energy mutual shift bridge. So we need a lot of black gold and black iron. Since the spirit weapons of the devils are useless, could you guys lend them to us? The devil nature and chi in them is just what we need. He smiled back at him. My master can get numerous devil spirit weapons. I wonder how much does cult master need? The more the better. Qin Mu said solemnly, thanks for the trouble, Hall Master Yu. Turning to leave, she said, "Cult Master is too courteous. Those things of the devils are useless anyway. You guys can go first. My master and I will deliver the weapons later." Qin Mu looked at Sang Hua and the rest, and he hesitated for a moment. "Sister Hua, Brother Tiger, and I need some time to set up the bridge, so you guys should go train. Come back after 10 days. We should be done by then, and I might even be able to introduce you to some new friends. Besides finding you for training, there's another purpose for our visit. We would like to join your cult," Sang Hua said in a low voice. The divine arts practitioners of Supreme Emperor Heaven present all hurriedly nodded. Qin Mu stared dumbfoundedly at Xu Yao. "After Cult Master told us about the philosophy of Heavenly Saint Cult, Senior Sister Yu He and I found it really agreeable, so we joined and became Hall Masters. Later, I was too talkative and told my friends about the aim of the cult, and they felt that it was good as well, so they also came to join. Can we have the positions of Hall Masters as well?" Sang Hua asked with excitement. Qin Mu was overjoyed, but he didn't show it. Heavenly Saint Cult is righteous and outstanding in eternal peace, so not anyone can join. However, I'm moved by everyone who fights the devils without a care for their lives and knows that everyone here are righteous people. We are like-minded, so I won't make it difficult for all of you to join. However, to become Hall Masters, you need proficiency in a particular field. My sacred cult has 361 halls, which represent 361 professions. So it's not about the strength of your abilities. Sang Hua and the rest were slightly disappointed, but Qin Mu smiled at them. However, the sacred cult has just established a branch in Supreme Emperor Heaven, so there are many things to do. We need to handle the urgent things in a swift manner, so there's no need to look too much into it. That's why everyone can become a Hall Master of the sacred cult in Supreme Emperor Heaven. Sang Hua cheered. Do we need to smear our lips with the blood of sacrifices and pledge to never betray the cult? Qin Mu didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He shook his head and said, "Our Heavenly Saint cult is not a devil cult with a bad reputation, so we don't do things like smearing ourselves with blood. No one needs to worship the cult master either. You just have to greet me, there's no formal etiquette. The cult master is the sacred teacher and not an emperor. I'm currently hurrying to build the spirit energy mutual shift bridge, so I got no time to talk. Come back after 10 days. When the two worlds connect, I will have the brothers from Eternal Peace's sacred cult explain everything in detail." Sang Hua and the rest were satisfied and left with Xu Yao. Establishing a cult in Supreme Emperor Heaven is much simpler than I thought. Qin Mu sighed ruefully, then his gaze flickered when he took a glance at the black tiger god beside him. Does Brother Tiger want to join the cult? The black tiger god rolled his eyes at him and sneered. My lord has never acknowledged your Heavenly Saint cult. Don't waste your energy, and let's just build the spirit energy mutual shift bridge. The human and the tiger soon came to the front of a huge sacrificial altar, which was as towering as a mountain. It had steps that led toward the sky where there was a level platform. Blood sacrifice runes were imprinted around it, and countless corpses of Supreme Emperor Heaven's divine arts practitioners were piled up on the ground. Only because of that were the stone statues and the primordial spirits of gods be summoned from great ruins. The runes of spirit energy mutual shift bridge that Qin Mu and the black tiger god had designed were formed on the foundation of the sacrifice runes. So only minor changes needed to be done to the runes on the sacrificial altar. The human and the tiger immediately made their moves to do exactly that. After a moment, True God Pang Yu brought Yu He and numerous devil spirit weapons that piled into a mountain. He said with a smile, "Little friend, is this enough for you? If not, there's another, much larger batch in Brilliant's injured city." Delighted, Qin Mu smiled. "These are enough, Much thanks, true God. Is there any place in which you need our help? True God Pang Yu asked. He also couldn't wait to assist. The Black Tiger God was about to accept their help, but Qin Mu hurriedly shook his head. There's no need for that. True God is busy, and senior sister he also needs to go train. I don't dare to trouble you too. True God Pang Yu was indeed plagued with many matters, so he bid farewell with he and left. There are many parts that need to be forged for Spirit Energy Mutual Shift Bridge, and the two of us will take a very long time to do it. Why didn't you let them help? The Black Tiger God grumbled. Senior brother, look at the suns in the sky. The Black Tiger God raised his head and came to a realization. We indeed can't let the gods of Supreme Emperor Heaven help, otherwise, it's impossible to know what trouble they'd bring. The human and the tiger started smelting all of the devil weapons. Spirit Energy Mutual Shift Bridge required didn't need for the devil nature to be removed, so they just smelted and reforged everything. They were both professionals in forging and skilled in calculation, so each and every component was done with great precision. The rune markings on all things had to be exact and as precise as the digits of Shun Shi. They sought perfection. Sun Forger God had forged the sun crooked, because when he was designing it, he didn't seek for his every component to be precise. In Qin Mu's hypothesis, the blueprints of the half-sun were at most calculated to the digits of Hu or Wei, which resulted in the final product being crooked and unbearable to look at. For the sun in the sky to look round, the digits had to be calculated to Shu Yu or Shun Shi at the least. The half-sun was dozens of times bigger than the huge sacrificial altar, so the degree of preciseness that Qin Mu required was extremely high. Every component had to be calculated to the Shun Shi digit, since he couldn't look at the sun in the sky, which was a truly horrific sight. Saint Woodcutter was an expert in calculation and forging, so he also couldn't bear to see the son of Supreme Emperor Heaven. After 10 days, Sang Hua, Shu Yao, and the rest hurried over with hundreds of divine arts practitioners in tow. They came to see Qin Mu and the Black Tiger God activating Spirit Energy Mutual Shift Bridge. Qin Mu and the Black Tiger God were still hurrying to and fro on the sacrificial altar, doing various tests and adjustments. They didn't dare to relax even in the slightest. Over the 10 days, they had only slept twice or thrice and were truly exhausted, but their spirits were still high. Not much later, true God Pang Yu, God Sang Yi, and the rest of the gods also came with thousands of divine arts practitioners. Everyone looked at the sacrificial altar with all kinds of huge, pitch-black components merged into it. They were of different lengths and looked half-smelted spears, halberds, knives, and swords that all aimed at the sky. They were covered in profound runes that were difficult to understand. Most were near the ground. The bottom part of the sacrificial altar had been nearly cleared out by Qin Mu, and there were numerous large components placed instead. Everything looked extremely complicated. Many passageways had been dug out throughout the sacrificial altar, and all of them were made of countless components. The runes connected each and every component. The entire sacrificial altars was an entire body, and yet it had incomparably complicated inner structure at the same time. Thousands of divine arts practitioners and gods surrounded the area, and walked a few rounds around it while exclaiming in admiration. Qin Mu and the Black Tiger God had shown them a new beauty that a huge metal artifact could possess. This kind of beauty wasn't regular, but uneven. Shadows fell disorderly while metal pieces and runes exhibited a strange kind of beauty. Qin Mu and the Black Tiger God installed the last component and aligned it with the sacrificial altar in the other world. The two of them looked at each other and saw the excitement in the other's eyes. Are you ready? The Black Tiger God raised his eyebrows. I'm ready to activate the power of the runes. Qin Mu nodded heavily, and a beam of divine vitality surged out from the Black Tiger God to activate the rune. The bright light slowly went forward, lighting up more runes. As if that was too slow, it soon split into two, and flowed toward even more runes like running water. A humming could be heard as bright light flowed into the interior of the sacrificial altar, and leaked out to the steps, slowly lighting up all of the rune markings. Finally, it flowed to the bottom and gathered there. Twang! A violent tremor reverberated, and the steps of the sacrificial altar floated into the sky. They separated into more than 900 layers according to the steps. Each of them rotated in different directions, and after every rotation, the runes on different layers would link with each other. The process looked incomparably intricate. Qin Mu and the Black Tiger stood on one of the steps full of excitement. The divine arts practitioners of Supreme Emperor Heaven below the altar, and the gods standing upright in the sky also couldn't help becoming excited. The sight of the huge metal artifact being activated was simply too magnificent. The sacrificial altar spun continuously, and every quarter of a rotation, there were waves of spirit energy rushing out. They were the devil chi and nature hidden in the weapons that were being activated. Based on Qin Mu and the Black Tiger god's careful calculation, as long as they broke through the barrier of the two worlds and constructed a funnel-shaped spirit energy mutual shift bridge, the energy of the two worlds would maintain the stability, and the passage wouldn't crumble easily. All the devil chi and nature of the weapons would be completely exhausted in the moment of connection. The layers of the sacrificial altar rotated countless times. When a great amount of energy was accumulated, a beam of black light suddenly rushed into the sky. The boundless power howled while shaking the world. Thousands of divine arts practitioners and gods, as well as Qin Mu and the Black Tiger god, raised their heads to look into the sky with a smile. It then froze on their faces. Up above, that beam of black light was incomparably fierce when it struck the half-sun. The macabre creation was instantly vaporized. The Black Tiger god's ears, which were upright, bent down toward the back of his head, and his mouth went wide open. "We're going to die. Junior brother, is this creating trouble or starting an incident?" Bead-sized sweat hung down from Qin Mu's left eyelid and fell on his cheek. The sweat then came rolling down his forehead like a stream, before forming two trails down both his eyes. Qin Mu turned his head with difficulty, and looked to his companion. The Black Tiger god, with a youthful appearance, had more sweat rolling down his face, and his shirt was already drenched. "Senior brother, take a look at the expression of the people below." Qin Mu's voice was hoarse as he suppressed its volume. "You look, for I don't dare. I'm afraid they won't be able to resist beating us to death." "Do you think they will beat us to death?" I can settle this. Qin Mu consoled himself continuously as his face flickered between clear and dark. "The adults in the village taught me that if I can create trouble, I definitely can settle it as well. I can definitely settle it this time too. Let's be real, I probably can't settle it. The trouble this time was too big. Supreme Emperor Heaven had no son, but Sun Forger God had led the divine arts practitioners to painstakingly construct the half that they raised into the sky. It became the pride of Supreme Emperor Heaven's people, yet the two of them had completely destroyed it. It wasn't that Qin Mu didn't consider creating a new sun in return to Supreme Emperor Heaven, but that it wouldn't be that easy. Creating a perfect sphere was not difficult, but how was he to turn it into a sun? Sun Forger God was a chef from founding Emperor Celestial Heavens, a man who controlled the power of the divine fire. So even though his craftsmanship was bad and he had constructed a sun that was unbearable to see, it could still light up and provide warmth to Supreme Emperor Heaven. This kind of divine fire was probably of an even higher quality than Li fire, so getting the right fire was the biggest problem in reconstructing a sun. After the black light pillar destroyed the half-sun, it pierced through the void. The next instant, the rippling of space could be seen with the naked eye. They undulated and spread through the surroundings. The other sun. The Black Tiger god's heart shook, as he looked at the ripples traveling to the other construction in the sky. Under the sacrificial altar, thousands of divine arts practitioners of Supreme Emperor Heaven and gods floating in the sky had their hearts in their throats. They couldn't help clenching their fists tightly, their nails almost piercing their flesh. The ripples spread and went for the other half sun. When they touched, the sun was squeezed until it was like an oval egg yolk. When the curve of the ripple passed through it, the sun was stretched and became 10 or more times longer. Everyone looked at the sky in fear, but after the ripples, the sun was still hanging in the sky. All the nervous people sighed in relief then. Suddenly, the now complete-looking sun gave off a loud noise, and a huge piece fell its surface. The component that had fallen off was as large as a mountain, and left a long trail of fire in the sky. Thick smoke billowed as it slid diagonally and crashed somewhere far in the distance. The sun in the sky had not round to begin with, but now it looked like it had been chewed by a mouth with uneven teeth. "Junior brother, should we run for our lives?" the black tiger god asked in a low voice. "Gentlemen, I have 2 good news to tell everyone." Qin Mu swept his sleeves up to wipe away the cold sweat rolling down his forehead like a waterfall, while still standing on the sacrificial altar. He made himself look righteous and confident before taking a look around the surroundings and saying loudly, "The first good news is that the Spirit Energy Mutual Shift Bridge is connected. This bridge links Supreme Emperor Heaven with eternal peace, so everyone here will have an escape route. Even if we can't defend against the devils, we can retreat to eternal peace and save our people." Under the sacrificial altar, thousands of divine arts practitioners still had a dazed look as they turned their heads with difficulty to look at him. After Qin Mu finished saying his first good news, he waited quietly for a moment for everyone to digest this information. This was to show off his accomplishment. Supreme Emperor Heaven had never had a path of retreat. If the gods and divine arts practitioners lost, the people could only be treated like food by the devils. But now that Qin Mu constructed Spirit Energy Mutual Shift Bridge, he created everyone in Supreme Emperor Heaven an escape route to preserve the legacy of their race. How huge was this merit? Qin Mu chose to show it off, because it was simply too great. Even if the divine arts practitioners and gods of Supreme Emperor Heaven were angered, they wouldn't beat him and the tiger god to death. Pan Yu was a true god after all, so he was the first to come back to his senses. He nodded slowly. Little friend Qin and brother Black Tiger created Spirit Energy Mutual Shift Bridge for the people of our Supreme Emperor Heaven to have an escape route. This is indeed a huge merit. God Sang Yi and the rest of the gods nodded too. This achievement was truly great. Besides connecting the 2 worlds and providing an escape route, the divine arts practitioners of Eternal Peace Empire could also give assistance, helping Supreme Emperor Heaven last even longer. At that moment, one divine arts practitioner stuttered, "Be but the sun in the sky." Qin Mu's face was glowing with vigor, and he laughed. "This is the other good news I wanted to say. Truly happy news." His voice was deafening to the ears. "Everyone, your sons were old and dilapidated, but now we can change them for 2 new sons. Round suns, perfect suns." The surroundings were silent. Suddenly, Sang Yi became excited and raised her 2 hands up high. "Yay!" This cheer was piercing to the ears, and her voice soon grew softer and softer. Finally, the long braid girl took note of the situation, and gave 2 coughs to cover her awkwardness. She didn't dare to speak anymore. "Don't speak." True God Pang Yu maintained a stiff smile on his face as he spoke to the other gods in a low voice. "Maintain the smiles, maintain the composure, don't reveal any murderous intent. They are the disciples of Heavenly Teacher, after all, so we need to keep our faces." "Will they really help us reconstruct new suns?" one god asked in a low voice while maintaining the smile on his face. "I have no idea," True God Pang Yu said with a smile. "If they don't, we won't let them leave Supreme Emperor Heaven. However, looking at their expressions that are full of confidence, they might be able to do it. Qin Mu looked at the numerous divine arts practitioners and gods of Supreme Emperor Heaven that had black faces, and cold sweat poured down his back. There seemed to be a flood about to break through a dam there, right about to surge out. This video will end here.